Let me see. You joined. Testing. Testing. Oh, yes, oh, yes, oh, yes. This meeting of the Washington County Board of Commissioners is now in session pursuant to adjournment. The Honorable Chairman Greg Matherly is presiding. Come to order, remain standing.
Thank you, Sheriff. Our first order of business this evening is our prayer led by Commissioner Carter. And following the prayer will be the pledge led by Commissioner Huffine. Mr. Carter.
Bow your head. Heavenly Father, we thank you for letting us come to you before tonight's meeting and get to speak with you. It's probably one of the biggest honors I can pray for this meeting. I sure thank you for listening. As we go through these budget talks, I think about what she told us in the first chapter of James, where he said, be slow to speak, quick to listen, slow to get angry. And I learned that when my Sunday school teacher would always tell me growing up, well, you know, I've had it for 40 years as a Sunday school teacher, she'd always say, before you talk to somebody, make sure that it's true, that it's necessary, and that it's kind. And not just in tonight's meeting, in all of our meetings, I pray that that's the way we approach each other, because we're all children. Lord, sometimes I want to pray tonight is for courage, for not just for the commissioners when they're asking a question, but maybe when they have to tell somebody no. Lord, we know that's hard sometimes. I want to pray that everyone that gets up tonight and speaks, that you give them courage, that they're able to speak freely in front of us, that we can listen to them. Lord, I want to thank you for giving us all the grace that you do, because we sure don't deserve it. Lord, we love you. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Let us all remember.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have the roll call screen up. If you'd go ahead and indicate your presence here this evening.
Maybe not.
The clerk will take the roll.
I'm here.
Commissioner Wexler is here. There you go, Commissioner. We've got you present.
Thank
Hold on. We have 10 present, 5 absent. We do have a quorum here this evening. Our next item is the approval of our agenda. This workshop is being conducted pursuant to Resolution 241117, which approved a commission workshop for consideration of various funds, official department, agencies, and special appropriations. And it is intended to serve as the third meeting described in Rule 1 of the Washington County Commission Rule of Procedure. So we had a little bit of conflict. The book said a regular meeting. The resolution that you recently passed at a workshop. So just to put that disclaimer in there, and everybody knows that this is meeting the mark for that meeting in May. We'll move right on into the agenda. I do have a couple of items for your consideration to change on the agenda. The first being adding the planning and zoning. Let's see, that would be Mr. Chapman, correct? Who did you? Yeah, Mr. Chapman, under the sheriff. just amending that agenda to add him under the sheriff, for a couple of considerations.
And Angie Charles.
And Angie Charles as well. And that's the only addition I have. Do we have a motion with the amendment? Motion by Commissioner Huffine to approve as amended, seconded by Commissioner Tucker. Question or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the agenda as amended, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the agenda is approved. A public comment this evening is normally not done for a workshop. However, Monday night, we'll welcome any public comment on any agenda items. Our next item is old business. We have none to report to you. Under new business tonight, before we get started into our speakers, our Director of Accounts and Budget, Mitch, if you'll want to cover some of the, may want to cover a few items in this budget book that there may be some questions.
Well, I'll make it very brief. You've got a notebook in front of you. First of all, I want to say that what you have in front of you, the budget, not my proposal, not the mayor's proposal, it's not the budget committee's proposal. It is an assimilation of the requests from all the departments. Okay, so is that me?
Yeah, it's your microphone.
Okay. So anyway, wanted to get that out of the way. Couple of things in here. There's a couple of things at your place that Sherry dropped off. One of them is, it says on the front of it, FY 26 County Commission Review, May 15, 2025. It was a loose leaf. It should have 3 holes punched in, so you put it in your notebook. But it's laid out to follow the speakers, so you'll be able to, each of those departments' budgets are in order, except for, of course, Scott Chapman's and Angie. When you get to their budget, you'll have to go to tab 3 and drop back to page 92 to 95. If you actually, unless they may have handouts, I'm not sure. That's where you'll find their budget, 92, pages 92 to 95, under tab 3. I will ask you to turn to tab 1 first real quick and open it up, if you would. This is a schedule of our funds, okay? You'll see the general fund and all the general government funds, and down at the bottom are the funds for the school department. I point that out because that's where we project where our either our ending fund balance or ending operations will either be a surplus or deficit. And as you'll see on the first line, right now with all the numbers that have come in our projected revenues, we've got about a $7.7 million deficit. Tab 2 is the property tax calculation and calculates what a penny will generate this year, and that's almost $556,000. Tab 3 is the tab 3 you'll find is all the general fund information. There's a little blue tab on there as well. If you look at the back of tab 3, those pages are all the department's commentaries that they send in with their budget. So, for example, library's going to get up and they're going to talk about what they're doing. Well, you've got written information in here as to what their requests are and their justifications. Special appropriations are at tab 4. And then for your kind of edification and to look at a timeline, tab 18, I put together a 4-year summary of budget comparisons from year to year for our general. So We're focusing on the general fund tonight, so that would be that handout that's floating loose. With that, I will turn to my seat, unless somebody has questions.
Any questions for Director Merrick? All right, seeing none, thank you, man. First speaker this evening is our sheriff, Sheriff Sexton.
I always wanted to do this when I got to the microphone.
There you go, Sheriff.
That's awesome. Hello, everybody. I appreciate your time. I'm assuming that you have a copy of the budget. Looking at my budget from last year, with the 3% increase, change from last year. That includes a 3% pay raise. The mayor suggested a 3%, and I told you last year that if we could do what we've done for the past 3 years, that this year I wouldn't come in here and ask for a dollar amount. So, employees have to make a living. The mayor requested it, so that's what we decided to put in our budget. It's a 3% increase with the, let me say this right, with the grants included or without, without the grants. If you add the grants, it drops it down to a 2%. So as you know, from, especially if you sit on the budget committee, we're all about trying to get grant money. Some of the expenses that we've tried that have gone up, food goes up, clothing goes up, just like you have at home. Our water has gone up for some reason about 50% more since the flood. I don't know what the situation is. We're talking with Jonesboro, but it's been $114,000 within this year. Our SHP contract, medical contract's always expensive. It's a 3% increase. It goes up $70,224. Since we turned in the budget, we found out that liability insurance went up another $105,000, and our workers' comp has increased $12,000. So I'll answer any questions you might have. This is the lowest budget I've ever turned in, and I really don't know where we could cut, but I'll listen to any suggestions or if you have any questions.
Sheriff, I don't think we have any questions. We
Anybody have any
appreciate you being here. Oh, Commissioner Carter's got one.
Explain to them that we're not getting the money.
Oh, the for inmates? Okay. So in the past, if you look at it, you'll talk about revenue from inmates, but it's really not revenue. It's never been revenue. It's reimbursement. If we made money off of inmates, they wouldn't let us have them, and they'd be building bigger state penitentiaries. I laid a document in front of you tonight that it's the best document we've found that explains about keeping the one that's from the Sycamore Institute. So in the past, the revenue would be the money that the state would reimburse us. It's not true revenue. You can look at that article, and I've said it many times. I've even put it in print many times. We're paid less than half what it costs a day to keep an inmate, state inmate. The federal inmates paid for themselves. But the problem there was when your state inmates go up like it has in the past, they come to you, the TCI, the Tennessee Corrections Institute, they say, well, Sheriff, you're overcrowded. You say, well, what do you want me to do? Well, you've got 100 federal inmates, you can get rid of them. So we got rid of them. Then we filled up with state inmates. By state law, it says that once they're sentenced, they have to be picked up by the state and they go to a penitentiary. The law says 10 days after all the paperwork's received, they should go to the penitentiary. The state now says that unless they have 3 years to serve, they're not going to they're not going to give them a bed. So we're stuck with those. unless you want to sue the state. And that has happened in the past. But the point is, for it to be revenue, it has to be revenue. It has to make you money. It's never been revenue. That's just the name we put on it. We lose money every day.
You just want to show a decrease in how
Between federal and state, it's a little less than $3 million, I think.
Yes. So here's the flip side of that. The Tennessee Corrections Institute comes in and they say, you're overcrowded, Sheriff. You're going to have to build a bigger jail. That's the exact words that they said to me. And I said, the heck we are. So what you have now is you have a jail that has level 1 accreditation. By the end of the year, we'll have a level 2. We are at 80% is where TCI says that you should be, because you have to be able to classify. Now, what's classification? Classification means that if you're gang members, you have to be able to separate them. If they're mentally ill, you have to be able to separate them. If they're a felon, you need to be able to separate them. We've had a case where a murder happened inside our jail because we were so overcrowded that we classified as best we could. At the same time, both of these inmates suffered from mental illness and had been housed before, but that one day. So my point is, you have a jail now that is being run as it should be. We're at the number we should be. Now, I could say, hey, we need to make some more revenue, and I can fill that jail up. But when they come to say you're overcrowded, you're going to have to build a bigger jail, it's not the sheriff's problem. It's going to be your problem. And that's the truth. I'm, by law, am required as the sheriff to run the jail. You have to buy it. And once you start being overcrowded, the lawsuits start coming. That's how this jail got built. I was working at the sheriff's office when it happened, when in 1995. So it's a difficult thing. But at the end of the day, you can call it revenue, but it's not revenue. It's not revenue unless it makes you money. And that article alone will show you that inmates don't make you money. So is it lost money? Yes. But it's kind of like it's kind of like Walmart. Every day that they open the doors, they hope to make this much money, but they don't every day. But that's just the cost of doing business. And that's what we're facing when you start talking about revenue through inmates.
So there's no fewer inmates.
Mhm.
Does that mean fewer employees there?
It takes a set number of employees every day to run the jail. It doesn't matter if you have 700.
So you won't see any savings.
You do see savings. And I just brought some of the savings before you in the last budget meeting, paying off comp time. Sarah, how much was it in comp time we're paying out? $500,000. And that's what we've done in the past when we have the money that is savings.
So the benefit of it would be less.
We don't have overtime. We don't budget overtime. We don't budget training. And that's another bad road to go down. Just ask an area agency. So we can't budget overtime. Comp time goes up. We've tried to constantly pay that down. When I took over, we had a $2.2 million medical bill that hit my desk day 4 as an interim sheriff. Medical costs is another thing that just kills you. But at the end of the day, it takes at least 17 people per day to run that. You have to have that many people in the jail. Now, what have you got for the excess money? If you look at the other sheet there that has all those stats on it, we can prove that Washington County is a safer county. There's more people on patrol. The recidivism has slowed down. There's more people out there doing law enforcement. You could ask the chairman. We've had to come before you because the call volume has gone up so high that we had to ask for money for an additional dispatcher for the sheriff's office. That's never been the case. I get calls all the time, people thanking me for, there's a lady here tonight that thanked me for what the job that the guys do. That's where the extra savings is going. And I think those stats, if you look through them, it'll show you that you're getting the bang for the buck.
Commissioner Malone?
Sure, thanks for the info. I wanted to just clarify something I heard a moment ago, just for my own benefit, but also for the public and sometimes how these things get reported. But I think a moment ago, you referenced or said that this was the lowest budget you had ever presented. And
In
so-
percentage wise.
So it's not the lowest budget you've ever presented in terms of dollars, but in terms of a percentage increase.
Yes, that's what I meant.
Just wanted to make sure I.
That's usually what everybody's looking at when you first come in here for this, is how much did it go up?
But I can imagine somebody later saying to me, well, the sheriff's budget, it's the lowest.
Well, I got you. We have 292 employees. We're over half the number of employees for the county. It's really three departments: detention, patrol, and then, or patrol including law enforcement outside, and then court security. So this by far, percentage wise, we if you can find fat in there, let me know.
Any other questions for the sheriff? Sheriff, thank you for the job you
Okay.
do. We appreciate your department, all they do for us.
Thank you all.
Yeah,
I know it's not an easy thing.
thank you. All right, we will go on to our amended part. Ms. Charles is here with us for the planning and zoning request, along with Mr. Chapman.
If you want to turn to, behind tab 3, go to page 92. Angie's is first, and then Scott's all.
Good evening. If you'll look at the planning budget, you'll see that there is a new position factored into that. So if you look at the salary line items, it looks like there is more than a 3% increase, and that is to accommodate a proposed new planner position. So the other two employees that fall under that line item are proposed with a 3%, but it does look off for the new one. Yes, sir.
If y'all look, if you go to page 92 and look down towards the bottom, it's, the first line under 51,720, which is planning. These numbers are all small, and it takes people a while to.
So the reason, the rationale for the request for the positions is to really let you know, to put you on notice as to what's happening as our county grows. So as we talked about in budget today, it's no secret that we've grown, especially since 2010. Up till now, our population has increased 15%. So as the county has grown, so has the scope of providing planning services to accommodate that. And that now exceeds the weekly hours for one employee. Additional work will also be incoming as it's the need to update the county's comprehensive plan, and that's the land use plan and transportation. And lastly, we now have interest from the town of Jonesboro to coordinate with planning and stormwater services. So ideally, this would lead to a reoccurring contribution from the town that could help offset a portion of the costs from that new position. But the position itself aside, which I know is the big ticket item here, if you move past that and move into our operating and expenses, we have managed to reduce those expenses by about $5,000 in this next budget.
Any questions for Ms. Charles?
Angie, if this works out with Jonesboro, how much of that would you expect?
I couldn't answer that question at this point.
Any further questions for Ms. Charles? Thank you, Angie, so much.
First, I want to thank y'all for having this meeting, being able to speak for you. I will be speaking on the code compliances. That number is 51,750. We do have ask for, a new position, staff level, inside the zoning office. We currently were able to secure a temporary employee for an agency that has been with us since December. With the flood event that's happened and the workload that we've all had to do, that support has been greatly, we've taken advantage of that as well as being able to train him. And this is a candidate that we would like to move into that position. If statistically, as Angie says, with the growth that we're seeing in the county, along with the stats that I have compiled, the number of permit inspections, just our whole, what we offer in that office, it's gotten to the point where we need help. And having this particular person has really helped for the last 6 months. But we need to look at fulfilling that for a full-time position. The other increases that are on there are related to that new position, the incidentals that are increased, along with the 3% increase for the current staff. That's what was submitted. Is there any question?
This new position, what is this new position? Is it inside or?
Yes, I've been with the county 13 years, and we have had the same number of staff at the current level for the last 13 years. So this would be support for telephones, walk-in customers, and things of that. With our revenue increase, our permit increase over, I've got approximately the last 8 years. It's just amazing the amount of work that we had added to our office. Answer your question, would be inside. Clerk.
All right. Any further questions for Ms. Chapman? Thank you, Commissioner Wheeler.
This workers' compensation up 700%.
That's something that Scott doesn't really have a lot of control over, and Commissioner, it would be inside, year-to-date actual was $1,400 based on the allocation, second column. So and there was only 200 budgeted, the workers, so it was just an under budgeted number in essence for 24, 25. But the allocation based on payroll and whatnot.
That's more corrective item.
I mean, it's not saying, he's not spending more on workers' comp or his claims aren't going up. It's an accounting allocation.
And one more thing to add, with the event that happened back in September, our office has received a lot of extra work that we've had to endure and take care of, with inspections and permitting and just general phone calls. That, and who knows how long that's going to last, or how long it's going to take to work out. We're still seeing a lot of phone calls. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Angie, you know a lot about extra work from the flooding, don't you? I know she stayed up at with us for a while, and we appreciated her up there helping us get that done. Thank you, Angie, so much. Our next requester this evening is Sarah Lawson, our clerk and master. We don't get to see Sarah very often. But well, we don't get to see you often, Sarah, so it's always good to see you when you do come.
If if you go back to the loose leaf handout, it's page 15.
I'll just say to start that my budget is not increasing, a large amount. There's an increase in the cost of services for our, leases on our tax program and our document management and case management program. And I've added an additional $500 in maintenance agreements because we'll have to get a new copy machine. And those have traditionally been right up there at the top. And then just a 3% raise for the deputy clerks. That's really the only increase in my budget this year.
All right.
I'll let y'all take a look.
Any questions for Sarah? Sarah,
Boring.
seeing none, we appreciate you coming. Oh, it's always
Thank
good for you to
you.
come and good to see you.
It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
All right, our trustee, Rick Storey is here as well. He's our next requester this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners.
Thank you, Rick.
Let's see, I don't know what page you're on. Okay, just taking a look at our budget. If you look at line, on the left side, it's got the numbers out there, like 101 through 212. That's salaries and benefits. You know, if we combine those two, those went up 2.53%. Our overall budget, which includes the rest of the expenditures and everything. So we have a total budget increase of 3%. I would call your attention to a couple items on there. You see a plus, we're 87% over on one line item, but we're minus 97% on the other item. We just changed from where we put some rent for our Johnson City office. We moved those two around, so it was compared to what was in that column last year. And that wasn't, that's where we got the discrepancy, but we didn't have as much of a jump. The only other thing that jumps out to me on here is where it shows postage 128%. Ever since I've been in office for a term and a half, I have yet to put the first penny in a postage machine. And we just consolidated postage services here, trying to go to one machine for everybody in the courthouse. So we haven't got there yet because the time the lease will expire. I have probably about $8,000 to $10,000 still in that machine. So in order for the budget process, I had to estimate what I'm going to use this year. So, you know, I figured that's kind of not new dollars because I had that money in there. But that's the way I had to at least budget for this year to pick the money that was going to use there. But that's pretty much the change that jumped out to me. Is there any question about this or out of our office? I would tell you while you're looking at taxes, collections are we're over 96%. Of course, the 23 taxes are over 90. They're at 98.9%, but they're good on those.
Rick, we appreciate you coming. I don't see any questions. We thank you for coming, Rick. Thank you for the good job you do every day. Next requesters, Sheila Hayes. Sheila, you're still our interim director, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Just want to make sure I get that correct.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, all the commissioners. This is my first rodeo, so.
Don't tell them that, Sheila. It'll be bad. You know, don't tell them that.
Well, I was hoping that would be, you know, a good thing.
Yeah. It will be. I'm sure it'll be good.
So I'm gonna let you all ask me questions. Yes, the budget is higher, and I know you have questions, so I'll let you ask questions, and maybe I can answer those. And if you don't have questions, that's fabulous. Oh,
Mr. Wheeler?
never mind, you messed it up. Mr. Wheeler.
The data processing business, is that our biggest thing for you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. With CVCs, the convenience voting centers, we are, the election commission did go ahead and say that they do want to go ahead with convenience voting centers this coming year. That is a one-time cost. And it is, yeah, it is out there, but all of our hard wiring, all of that has already been completed for all of our, sites, all of our early, convenience voting center sites. So that's all done, but yes, we will have to have the laptops, printers, and some thermal printers. All of that is a one-time cost.
Are those open on election day?
Yes, sir.
So you gotta have those in addition to your precincts.
Yes. Convenience voting centers are like early voting. You know, you can go to any site. So your convenience voting centers will be just like that. So they'll be set up like your early voting sites, where we have to have a laptop there. And that way we make sure, you know, someone doesn't vote at Woodland and then runs and votes at Gray. We have all of that be coming into the office instantly and knowing who's voted where.
So if we didn't budget that, took it out, what would happen?
Well, if you all did not do that, then we would have to go to precincts. The one-time fee, or the one-time, I know it is a chunk, but in the long run, it's going to save money. Whereas it's gonna save money with staffing, supplies, all of that in the long run. Yes, sir.
So let's go back to my question. I
Okay,
may have misunderstood.
okay.
Will we have the precincts and the convenience centers open, or just the convenience?
If you go with convenience centers, which we're planning on doing,
Right.
then you don't have precincts. Okay, precincts are different. Precincts on election day, you are assigned, let's say you have to go to Woodland, which I know you do. So Woodland is your precinct. If you decide to wait until election day, you would go to Woodland to vote. Convenience voting centers, let's say you're down looking at flood things or whatever else happens in South Central, or, you know, so you're down in that area and you're driving up and, oh, there's Lamar. And it's election day and you realize, I haven't voted yet. You can stop at Lamar and vote.
As opposed to going to your precinct.
Yes.
Okay.
But we have the same number of precincts.
No. This budget is budgeted on 19 convenience voting centers, not 23 precincts. Or 23 convenience voting centers.
But this is for equipment that we do not have in the precincts.
Exactly, because you have to run a convenience center, just like you would with an early voting site. We have to make sure that all of those laptops, all of the equipment is talking to each other when it comes to our office. So we know that you voted in Lamar and you can't go to Woodland to vote.
And we do not have to have that in the precincts right now.
Exactly. With precincts, it's different.
Thank you.
So
Yes, sir.
is a precinct, is it more efficient to vote in the convenience center or in the precinct?
Well, that's a good question. We do have convenience voting centers.
Okay.
Convenient voting centers are convenient.
Well, that's what I'm thinking of a convenience store.
They're convenient, but also it would be less time for the staff to get everything together on who voted. It's instant. So we have all of that right there, just like early voting. You come in and you want to know who voted in early voting, and early voting is finished, we can give you a list right there. Or that day, I want to know who voted on Tuesday in early voting. We can automatically give you that list. This way, we'll automatically have it. We won't have to have the background of changing addresses and all the time it takes to do that, and then going back and
So
downloading.
you mentioned that it would save money over the long haul.
over the long haul.
How long is the payback for?
Again, I cannot answer that. Like I said, excuse me, it won't be as many, workers. You won't need as many workers to do 19 as if you would 23. And, once we do it the first time, there might be a possibility we could even go down even further. I don't know that right now. I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
Commissioner Blunt?
Commissioner Black.
Well, thanks for coming.
Yes,
This may be as much a question for our director of finance, it's you, and I just want to make sure I'm following along. I had not seen, we were given this materials tonight, I'm assuming the budget committee had it, earlier. But you mentioned, it's higher, it's an increase, but when I look at the numbers here, it looks like a decrease. Is that because it's not factored in a pay increase?
It's comparative to, an election year with 2 election.
Yes, this is just one election
Okay.
budget.
So technically, in actual dollars, it's lower than it was last year's budget.
Yes, sir.
And it does factor in a 3% pay increase.
It does.
If you want to compare it to the last year of a single election, it would be the 2024, 2025 year to date.
No,
Number second column.
Or would it be 23?
it would be 23, 24.
Okay, well, so that's 748, and for the year request is 945.
Okay, so it's really, if you compare it, single election year, it is almost 200,000 higher. But just comparing your last year to this year, it's less. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
That was my question.
Commissioner Wheeler?
On the convenience centers, you're really cutting out some of the precincts that have really low numbers of voters. Is that-
Yes, like for instance, Indian, Lake Ridge. We have Lake Ridge City, Lake Ridge County in one building, 2 precincts in one building. That will be combined.
Then we have like one that a fire hall somewhere that's really low.
We have Asbury, so Asbury will be combined with Woodland. So we are looking at all of that.
And then lastly, the second increase that I have a question about, which is the county official increase is 28%.
Yeah, I can answer that because, if you'll look, the original budget, if you look at the middle column, Commissioner, the original budget was 107,000. Okay, the revised budget's 85. Okay, and of course, the administrative election receives a minimum salary. Well, we had, when Sheila took over as the acting administrator, her pay is still showing up in the deputy line. Okay, so that's why if you actually look at line 106, it's flat from budget year to budget year. But that's because of the amount of additional pay that taking on the administrative election duties that's been moved down to that. The number in there for the official is the minimum salary that is set, based on the official minimum salary guidelines, which you can find at tab number 19. And of course, your part-time personnel and election workers, that's all dependent on the number of elections that you have in a particular year.
Exactly.
Commissioner Huffine?
The convenience center, I think one of the other benefits of that is hopefully increasing participation in the election, which we have all
Yes,
strived for.
yes.
just wanted to confirm.
Yes, because,
Aware of it.
you know, if somebody's working, I don't know, you know, at the medical center.
Yeah.
And they live all the way in Westview, but they can't get there in time. Well, they can just go right up the road to Woodland or Henry Johnson and go there.
Yes, today.
Convenience. Yes, sir.
C-store.
Commissioner Davenport?
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about this in budget too. We look at how much we fund for these elections.
Mhm.
And we fund, on the number of elections, fund that same amount going forward. So the next time we have this number of elections, that's what we would fund. And we can look back, and this can get lost in the measures that we bought, you know, a few years down the road, and we would, can be tempted to fund that amount when we know we bought equipment. And actually, we should be funding less. How are we gonna track that?
The plan is actually to pull that line out and separate it. During COVID, we did that with, mailing costs because we had a whole bunch of absentee ballots. And so we pulled that out, put it in a separate line called the COVID expense, so we wouldn't put in the operation budget, which is exactly what you're asking. And so we talked about that, hadn't been done yet, but, plan going forward, if we leave this line item in there, it would be pulled out of operation so that you won't be confused. So if you look, if you really want to compare back to the last single election year, you simply would take current budgeted request, take out that $120,000, compare it to the first column on the left. That's the difference. Same election, you know, the salary increases over the 2 years.
Yes.
That's all.
Yes.
Sheila, I have a question. So how many other counties in Tennessee is doing this convenience voting centers?
I have to look at Lori for that.
5 or 6 in the state?
Mhm. I know Rutherford County is one.
Yeah. All right, I just wanted to make sure that. So that went. Commissioner Malone, I see you back on the screen.
Well, Commissioner Matherly's, question just prompted a thought in my head. Is this, the convenience centers, is that something that our state is promoting and encouraging?
You have to have permission from the state. And as you all probably remember, whenever, I think it was in 2023, we started this process. We had to have a mock election, make sure everything would work for convenience voting centers and to have the state approval. We did plan on starting that in 2024, but the state advised us not to due to the fact that it was a presidential election.
Well,
So-
related question, I'm just wondering if there are any support dollars from the state to cover this one out.
I do not know. I know that there was a grant and, I asked if they would, fund the laptops and I got a no on it.
But before we let you leave, I just want to thank you for stepping up and taking the role of running election office. Find somebody, know that they know how lucky they are to have someone like you to come in and step up and do a good job. I really appreciate the hard work and everybody in the election commission.
Thank you. Sure.
Sheila, how long have you been at the election commission now?
I've been there 21 years.
21 years. I knew it had been a long time.
Yeah, we go way back.
Yes, we do. I appreciate all your hard work too.
Said it was the first rodeo.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that was it. That's when my hair was brown. Okay. And our next requester, Lewis Haynie, our solid waste director. Lewis is always hard at it every day. I was out of Gray the other day, and you better get there early, hadn't you, Lewis?
Busy out there.
Yes, sir.
Guess we'll talk about different kinds of convenience centers later. I'll be happy to answer any questions y'all may have about the budget.
Lewis, I just have one question. How difficult in this budget would it be to have coverage at Cash Hollow to 3:30?
To have it to when?
3:30,
3:30?
like every other convenience center.
Well, that's something we can look into.
Would you look at that? I'd like for us to look at that.
Saturday.
Just on Saturday, not every day,
Yeah, I got
just on Saturday.
okay.
I think people, I've received several emails, especially in the past week, asking if it couldn't be open later, just on Saturdays when more people were off. And I know that would impact your budget. So what a
Yeah.
great time to talk about that.
It was set up that way when I.
Yes, sir. It's been that way a long time.
And I do think we've had more people show up since Lamar's been,
Yes.
incapacitated. I think that's a lot of the issue too, but I'll be happy with
Yeah.
that.
If you'll look at that and see, and I know we would be glad to I don't think the cost would be too much just on Saturday, but we know you run a tight budget.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, I definitely do that.
So we don't want to change that in the middle of the year, but that'd be a good time to look at it, especially with our population increasing and a lot of growth in that area going on. So,
Yeah.
so we'd appreciate if you, or I would anyway.
I'll be happy to do that.
All right. Thank you so much, Lewis.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. I'm a novice. This is my first road. Well, not my first road. Under trustees commission, I guess it goes from, original budget was 23,000 and 40,000.
I'll have to have Mitch weigh in on that because I don't really have any control over that. No.
Again, the trustee, where that's coming from, Lewis receives a portion of the property tax. Okay, the trustee takes a commission on those property tax dollars. Okay, so what you're seeing there is essentially, because Lewis doesn't, he generates some revenue off, scrap sales and recyclables and stuff like that, and tires. But the bulk of that commission is coming from the property tax revenue that flows into his department. Now, let me take one more step. The trustee receives that commission, but in our revenue numbers, all the officials turn their commissions back over to the county. We've got like $2 million of revenue, that the trustee, which is commissions that he's taken because he doesn't have to write the checks for payroll or pay his light bill or whatnot. So those all do come back into the general fund, but that's what that number is. And the increase, there's a $17,000 increase there. But we budgeted 23 this last year. Well, if you look at the second from the left column,
Yeah.
his commissions this year to date already approached $39,000, and this is just through March.
All right.
So that was the rationale for in that.
It's the right side.
Yeah.
The trustee commissions, wherever those numbers move, they are in a sense countywide budget neutral. Okay. I hope that helps.
All right. Any further questions for Lewis? Lewis, we appreciate the good job you and your staff do year round, and I know it's hard work out there, but y'all do an awesome job.
We appreciate you
Thank
all
you.
and all the support you give.
All right, our next requester is Chelsie Summey is here, I think, this evening for Miss Bowman. She's still out over at the Register of Deeds office, and Chelsea, we appreciate you coming tonight and, get us through this day.
Teresa sends her regrets. She hated not to be here, so. Our budget pretty much, hasn't increased much. There is a change. You'll notice our maintenance line item has decreased and the data processing services have increased, and that is due to a vendor change back in November. With this, we will pay a monthly fee now, and that will cover all computer equipment. If a computer goes out, they'll come replace it at no charge. That's all for the software, they provide. The only thing we'll ever have to purchase going forward would be like a class center. And that's also an expense that we pay from our data processing reserves. So.
All right. Any questions for, Chelsea? Seeing none, Chelsea, I appreciate you, y'all are doing a good job over there. Thank you. The next question is, Richard Griffin, our library director, or soon to be retiring library director. Isn't that right, Richard? Yes, sir.
Thank you for considering our budget request. The budget was prepared in conjunction with the Washington County Library Board, Budget Committee, and the library. There's a lot going on in this budget request. So Gray Library will be opening in August. It's double the footprint. So you're going to see a lot of additions based on that larger square footage. Some of the requests we're having, we're getting a new director, so we need to stay competitive and hiring a new director. We have 32 applicants come in for that new director position. We have already whittled that down to the 8 best candidates. So we're trying to stay competitive compared to other libraries in the area. So we talked to Mayor Grandy and requested a range of where we should be to stay competitive. You're also going to see a 3% COLA for the full and part-time staff being requested. We've also requested 5 additional part-time staff. We are a very heavy part-time staff. Is how the library works. There's 1 full-time staff on the front desk in Gray. There are 4 part-time staffs that only work up to 29 hours, some even less than that. So with the larger square footage at the library staff is having to be spread out instead of being centrally located at one serve desk to keep the patrons safe, to provide service. They're being split up. So with that larger square footage and being split apart, there's going to need to be more staff to watch everything. You're also going to see a maintenance request. So with the newer facility, we're struggling to keep custodial services going and to adequately keep these spaces clean. Currently, your library staff, your front desk staff are in charge of cleaning up any spills, bodily fluids, anything that might happen falls on your front desk staff. They're not trained to deal with these kinds of elements, so we're looking to try to get cooks cleaning. I think they've already got a contract with the county, so we're looking to get that service brought into the new Gray facility with the existing Jonesboro facility. One of the ones we're also asking for, and there's a few other smaller ones in here I'll be more than happy to talk about. There's a larger book request. The children's library space in the new Gray facility has about the same square footage as the entire collection in Jonesboro. So that is a much larger collection that's going to have to be placed into that facility. Also a larger teen area. And like I said, ask any questions. I'm going to breeze through some of those and go to the capital expenses. You're going to see a couple of capital expenses in there, some of them a little larger than, those are your one-time expenses. So right now we're running on computers that are 8 years old. They have 0 warranties, 3 have burnout screens. These are not only your staff computers, but your patron computers. But we want to utilize a grant. That's your LSTA grant. That is a 50-50 match. So we were looking for, and we talked to Mitch about it, to put it in the capital expenses. If that grant's awarded, then that would be in the capital expense. So that's $20,000
a matching grant or matching component, and then we would get $20,000 to purchase the computers or replace all the computers, which I believe is at 30 computers for both libraries. There's also a top grant that's a 20% match that right now is tied in to try to, that's our Ethernet at the new Gray facility. So that's our Ethernet wiring, that's our security cameras, that's what you need to basically keep that library running. Currently, J.E. Green is installing all boxes and all conduit for the Ethernet, but the installation of the Ethernet's not part of the deal. So we've been working with BCTI. We do have a quote from them to install that. That's a one-time installation. Depending on how much we get awarded in the top grant, which we're anticipating, this is the largest we've asked for. We've always been able to get what we requested in the past. There's a $4,000 component in there for a matching $16,000 return on that to add to that bill. That's it, and I'll answer any questions, and Richard's here to answer any questions if you have any.
Does anyone have any questions? Commissioner Wheel? I'm sorry, I didn't see you on the screen.
You mentioned the 3% COLA, the budget sheet will get in front of 7% increase in the salary.
It should only be a 3%. We'll have to double check the numbers on that one.
Commissioner Blunt?
Yeah, these may seem like crazy questions, but and I think I know the answer. But I wanted to ask and be sure and maybe offer an idea that with the new location in Gray, and then my mind thinks about the new development that is within the city limits in Gray. I would expect that the new library location, nice new space, I would expect it's going to give visitors that are actually city residents. Does the Washington County Library receive any funding at the moment from the city of Johnson City? Currently, no. There has been requests made in the past, but Johnson City has not made any contributions. That's something we're going to push forward more. The county does receive funding from Jonesboro, but not Johnson City. So I'm glad to hear it. So the town of Jonesboro does support, yes, the Washington County Library with a special appropriation. Yes, they do. I think it's $13,500. They have requested that we come before them again and do a presentation to try to increase that amount. Johnson City, there is an amount in our budget that we have to release to them. But we do not get any money back from Johnson City. I would encourage you to make that ask, and then I would, I guess, remind the budget committee that there is a fairly substantial special appropriation that the county makes every year to the city. Yes, there is quite a bit that I believe it's a little over 100,000. 143 that goes to Johnson City. And it goes every year. It's tied up into our budget every year. We have to release that certain amount. So, thank you.
Any further questions? Right.
And I'll just also say, if I can, traditionally, new libraries see a 20% increase in traffic. So that's what we're anticipating in Gray. That's traditional across the nation on the new library see. So, and especially you mentioned the developments across the street and just in Gray in general, there's a very large population. I believe it was almost a 6% growth that area's been seeing. So there's a huge community there that's going to take part in this library and it's going to utilize it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate you very much. Our next requester is our EMA director, Evan Clyburn. Evan, if you'll come up. Evan is still busy working every day, and we appreciate all he's done this year through our flooding and disaster recovery, and still at it, right, Evan? It's, we've not stopped, and with that, and the mayor, a lot of people go home, but Evan's still there, and the mayor, and we appreciate all that you all are continuing to do and get us through those things.
So I'd like to thank you guys for honoring me, allowing me to speak to you guys tonight and continue to serve the county. I'll start with saying you will see, I'm sure you've noticed some increases on a lot of my line items that were on there. But I came before you last year. I was still the interim director. Just to be honest with you, I had a shoestring budget. Mid-year, September, we were handed, quite a significant event. So a lot of these increases on some of these line items reflect equipment or upgrades or emergency purchases that we did to the EOC and to support public safety, municipality operations. Some of these purchases were made not quickly. They were made in decision. They support the GIS department, the planning department, will buy purchases that multiply through county, that serve multiple county departments. With that, some of the agreements and stuff pay for that increase in month-to-month service and software upgrades. A lot of the equipment we had in the EOC was initially built in 2016. During the initial 24 to 48 hours, the EOC supported 3 different counties with that equipment. So that equipment's taken quite a beating. We've replaced a lot of it. And I'll entertain any questions that you all have at this time.
Any questions for Evan? All right, Evan, we appreciate you coming tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Thank you all for what you do.
Have done and continue.
It continues on. Our next requester is Brenda Downs, our county court clerk, or the circuit court clerk.
Good evening, commissioners. Just like everybody else, extremely small. Lease payments, maintenance agreements, that's just beyond my control. That went up a little bit. Actually, maintenance went down, but they changed some line items from 334 to 330. So 330 jumped up a little bit, but 334 did go down. The one unique thing I asked for more money on that I've never asked before is in postage. But I took on juvenile services office, and all of their mail comes to us, and we take care of all their certified mail and postage. I don't even remember who asked me. It was 2 years ago, and I did it with no problem 1 year. But they accumulate about $3,000 a year. So I did ask for a little more postage, but it also alleviates juvenile services having a postage machine and paying the lease payment and all that. So I think it's just easier just to, and if I don't use it, it'll go right back to you guys. I asked for extremely little bit in paper, and I didn't ask for any more than anything else. I was very unique. I did get a very strict instruction from the mayor, just ask for 3%, but I did tell the mayor 3% is going to be very hard for me to retain clerks. We are so far down below other offices. Our starting pay is like 17 something, 3% is 50 cents. It's going to be extremely difficult. And I know you guys are so tired of hearing that. And trust me, if what I asked, the $1.75 instead of 3% doesn't go through, I completely understand. I just appreciate you listening. They will be appreciative of anything they get. But if you'll humor me and let me just read you 2 sentences from a resignation letter I received this year. I cannot thank you both enough for the love, kindness, and opportunities for personal and professional growth. As a single mother with 2 young children that you both have treated like your own, I had to make the very difficult decision to leave the circuit court clerk's office. With the cost of living being so high, I'm unable to make ends meet on the salary I currently make. If it was not for that, there's no way I'd be leaving this office. Thank you for being one of the greatest establishments I've ever had the liberty to be a part of. I will miss you all dearly. I've lost 3 in the last year, and it took me a long time to replace 2 of them. It was because of the pay. I did hire 1 or 2, that left higher paying jobs because I try to sell the benefits, and the benefits are great, guys. There's no doubt about it. And I tried to tell this young lady, where you're going does not have TCRS, but the people that I hired that left higher paying jobs realized this is Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 and a half day, and TCRS benefits. This is a hard job. I can't do it. I'm going back to my other job. So I'm not saying Sarah's clerks don't have a hard job. We all know police officers and detention officers are extremely hard jobs. I'm not saying Cheryl doesn't have a tough work regimen in her office and Cheryl at Register of Deeds. I'm just trying to get it up just a little bit to try to retain and try to hire. But trust me, everyone else came up here with 3%. I don't want the mayor to think I'm disrespecting that in any way, shape, or form. I'm just one of these people. It doesn't hurt to ask. You can't shoot me. Can't. He can shoot me. Yes.
I don't think I can get it from there.
I definitely would never pick a fight with him because he would absolutely win that one hands down. But you know, it doesn't hurt to ask. I don't think asking is going to hurt anything. I did give this a little bit of numbers. The $1.75 I'm asking going to be $64,660. I gave back $190,000 last year, and I hope to give back some this year. So,
How many deputies? How many?
33 in the office. 3 are part-time, Commissioner Davenport. We currently have vacancy. I had interviewing a young lady next week that is leaving a higher paying job. So I hope when she comes, she doesn't say this job's too hard. I'm going back to my other job that was easier. So it's a lot of liability. I don't have to tell everyone in this room the liability that's involved in the criminal justice system, but trust me, if 3% splits across the board, the clerks will be very appreciative for anything you give.
Any questions for Brenda?
So is your deputies in your pay scale in your office, is it less than the other offices that we're looking at?
When I did look into it last year, Commissioner Tucker, yes. Did I look at every single office? No. We are more than the library. I do know that.
But you feel like you're less than some of the
The
others?
starting pay, yes. If Sullivan County had a clerk with 10 years experience that put in their application, if I told them 17 something, they're going to ask me, well, with my experience, would you not pay me more? And I don't do that. I don't feel that's fair to people that have been there 5 years and are doing a good job, even though they didn't work at a clerk's office, to have somebody come in, and maybe we do things different from Sullivan County. So, but I just use it as a very rare example. I'm a very, very across the board person. In the past, when you guys were extremely generous with that $2 increase, it was across the board. That kind of answer your question? Okay. You're welcome, Rich.
Any more questions? We appreciate you coming. It's always good to bring up those tough subjects and talk about them. This is where they need to be talked about. I appreciate you doing that. Thank you so much.
Thanks
for doing that. Cheryl, would you like to use my microphone? And we'll... Okay, all right. Now, if you have any trouble, it's always here.
Well, thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak for just a second. No big changes in my budget, just the 3% increase for my employees, which you'll be very thankful for whatever you decide to give. And then an increase in my postal charges, which has been an ask for several years. Other than that, no big changes in that.
All right, any questions for, Cheryl? Seeing none, we'll move right on to our, property assessor, Mr. McGuire.
Hello, everybody. We did some moving this year and moved, a lot of things out of the assessor, moved it into reappraisal. And then last year, what we did, so the assessor budget's flat, with a 3% increase, just for employees. And then on the assessor side, the reappraisal side, and that's a cost share side. So if you remember last year, we asked for 2 vehicles and, we agreed to, and we were gonna get 1 this year, and we agreed to just do the 1. So this year I'm asking for both of those. And what I'm asking for is trucks, because during that flood, we didn't have a vehicle that would actually make it down there. So, and just so you know that we do deal with this each and every day, from the beginning and still today. I mean, all these agencies, from Mountain Way, which was Dollywood, to Eastern Aid, to APS, all these agencies are coming through the assessor's office. And we've actually, been with the comptroller and talked to them. And so this is something that we're doing on a daily basis, and we need to have transportation that we can get down there if this happens again. And because of this, my whole office is now TMA certified. So in the next disaster, we can take care of ourselves and not have to look for a team or a FEMA, because we're still waiting to get the information, but we're on the list. So we had to recreate the wheel on this whole thing. So that's why I've asked for trucks instead of cars. We didn't have anything the big, those little escapes aren't going to go anywhere. And then, this year you're having to, as of October, your computers, Windows 10 will no longer be in compliance. It will no longer be supported, so you have to go to Windows 11. So, and then I did ask for a couple part-times. We did go last year with the new Eagle View. So the way the Eagle View worked is it'll capture all the new stuff, but it won't capture the old stuff. So as of right now, we might need some help as far as being able to get through all that information, because in 26 we're going to be actually seeing the comparison on the difference on the people that built a garage with no permit, things like that. So that's what the part-time will be for. And we're projecting this year to probably pick up 1,000 houses. I've got data from Jonesboro and Washington County, Johnson City, and everybody's, they're having more permit than they did last year. And with Washington County, this past week, 26 notice of completions. That means that's 26 houses we have to go pick up. But that's just in Washington County. That's not counting Jonesboro, which Jonesboro had 7% growth. And that's not counting Johnson City. So that's the numbers that we're seeing. Washington County had 262 in 25, and then they had 90 flood permits. So that's a total of 352, and last year they only had 272. And Jonesboro had 41 permits last year, and they're at 67 this year. So that just means more and more of what we're doing each and every day. So to give you an idea of what we're doing and the kind of growth, so I just took what I gave to Midge back in April. So from April 17th of 24 to April 17th of 25, we grew 2.61%. which generated $2,458,000. But that's just pick of the time. That's not budgetary dollars. That's just how much. So, any questions?
On the reappraisal program, I know you asked 3% over here, but I see a line on your deputies that says 6%. Are you adding a deputy or are you?
No, what that is back, and I've got the resolution here if you'd like to see it. October of last year, we moved monies from assessor to reappraisal to hire a deputy. And so when we hired that deputy, we only budgeted for 32 weeks. Is that right, Mitch? 32 weeks?
However long you were gonna have.
Right. So they were hired in November, so we just budgeted what we needed, and that's, for this will be for a full year. So it was 32 weeks, last year, and this year it'll be 52 weeks.
Then last year you asked for 2 vehicles and you got 1, but you're coming back this year and asking for 2 more.
Because I'd asked originally for 2 last year and 1 this year. And then, the budget committee asked me if I would could get by with 1. I agreed with that, but I said, I want them this year.
So if you just got 1, would you be short?
Well, no, I wouldn't be short. I mean, I just got 2012 vehicle.
Another thing you was talking about is the growth in the building permit stuff, but what I seen on the building permits, it looked like Washington County building permit in the month of April cut the half. I don't think you got that information or not, but I didn't know.
I don't.
So what I'm asking you, we're talking about all this growth, do you think that it may slow down?
Not anytime soon. I think it's stable. I think the values are more stable. But we've gone by net tar and everything else, everything's still selling. Anyone else?
Any further questions? All right, Rob, we appreciate you coming tonight.
Thank you.
Always got good information for us. Mayor, is there anything you want to leave us with before we part way?
Well, you've heard the request and you have all the budget information. And the budget committee is really focused on trying to be flat. And so we're going to give a salary increase and money to come from other places. So any suggestions, any recommendations that you can offer over the next week or so as this thing sort of comes together, would be greatly appreciate any thoughts, commentary, regarding requests, what you mostly heard was justification for increases. So how you feel about those, how you respond to them. Budget committee is tasked with taking, all this information and bringing you all back something to consider here in a few weeks. So this is really a great time for you to offer input to them so that what you get back is what you want to. You heard as we started tonight, we are on the revenue side. We are projecting less revenue than last year. And as presented, as requested, an increase in expenses. So generally, that's not a good combination, and it's not a good combination. So again, we spent this time trying to provide all the information that we have so far, and ask for your help.
Thanks, Joe. Look, in the notebook, and I know Commissioner Wheeler likes to look at this too, and there is behind tab 3, as it relates to the general fund, there is a schedule, I think it's a 3-page schedule that actually summarizes the changes from the budgeted revenue in FY25 to FY26 and for the budgeted. So that kind of, I think that helps you focus on where the budget's leading you and why.
All right, do we want to continue on with any further discussion? Or there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Commissioner Davenport, second by Commissioner Wexler. All in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye. All opposed? We're adjourned.
I'm sure.
Bill, what's going on?
Talk to Mr. Wexler.
It's an excellent time to catch them because it's the only place they're ever at.